Hey everyone, welcome back to the Comic-Con Podcast, episode 43. We are recording it on November the 3rd. I am one of your hosts, Justin, aka Nemesis Prime, running this show tonight. Going to tell a great story. But before I get into that, let's talk to my man Manimal. What's going on, Zach?
What's up, everybody? So before Justin launches into his story, just a little background. So every week we kind of like alternate on who, runs the show, leads the show or whatever. And kind of depends on like if we have a guest, that someone like if Justin set up the guest or whatever, he usually lead that show. Or if it's someone I'm dealing with, I usually lead that show. But so today it's just the two of us. And so we had a little disgusto, which is Spanish for argument, and about who was going to lead the show today.
We were arguing before, and Zach thought he led the show last week, and I said no, I led the show because I came back. So then I said, do you want to fight about it? And we were going to fight from New Jersey to Texas. And then I said, let's rock paper scissors this bitch, and that didn't work. So we did odds and evens, and I've never played odds and evens up until this day. So Zach just taught me some new game with my using ones and twos. So I clearly won, but I said I still want to run it, so we can rock with this story to open it up.
Yeah, so if you haven't played ones and twos, which I'm not even sure that's what you call it, but so it's odds or evens. I think it's called odds or evens. So someone picks odds or evens, and then it's just like rock, paper, scissors. You go 1, 2, 3, shoot, and you throw out a one finger or two fingers, and then whatever the fingers adds up, that person wins. So it's a great game.
Well, that's I don't know. So that's our opening spiel for this podcast because we just couldn't figure out who wanted to run the show, even though we have a ton of stuff to talk about. So let's get right into it. Of course, if you're listening to us on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or Apple iTunes, we appreciate all of our existing listeners and any new listeners that have been popping in, which we have been seeing according to our analytics, which is always nice. We appreciate, of course, you can always find myself, Nemesis_Prime, on Instagram and also on Whatnot. If you're listening to this early enough, I'll be doing a Whatnot sale this Saturday, November the 6th. Which is going to be awesome. And of course, Milton the Manimal is also on Whatnot under, what is it, just Manimal?
Just Manimal, yeah.
Just Manimal. So make sure you follow both of us there as well as our Instagrams. This week, we don't have anything in our community section. So make sure you are dropping us either a email to the comicconpodcast@gmail.com. You can always send us direct messaging to our Instagrams, the Comic-Con Podcast, or either of our Instagrams, which is always good because we always like talking and hearing from the community and our listeners. So let's kind of get right into some of our articles this week. We have some Star Wars stuff. We got some comic book stuff. We're going to talk about some trailer reviews. So we'll start with the comic book stuff first. So if you don't know, this was actually posted a week or so ago, and I feel like it kind of went under the radar for a lot of people because there's so much going on with the end of October and Halloween. But over on bleedingcool.com, they posted this article, and this is, of course, one of the big companies. No more second printings coming from Image Comics. So right now, Image Comics has informed the comic book retailers that they're no longer going to be publishing second, third, fourth printings of any of its titles as a result of the printing and publishing issues, which has currently been going on, of course, with the quote-unquote shortage of paper and what's going on in the world. So, of course, about a month ago, they said, first things first, as many of you are undoubtedly aware, the current shipping delays, supply chain crunches, and paper shortages are creating nationwide issues across many industries. So starting from now on, and for the foreseeable future, there will be no more second printings of any titles. So please keep that in mind when you're ordering. There will be limited stock available for reorders, and we will not be reprinting anything that sells through at the distribution level. So this is a very interesting article, and this is very interesting, especially coming from, I would say, I guess, the third biggest comic book company.
A lot of people argue whether it's considered even an indie company. You know what I mean? I still say it is. I still say it's independent.
Yeah. So I think this is good because, and I guess we're going to go back and forth because Zach thinks this is great. I think it's good and bad. Me as a collector, I always like second and third printings and fourth printings because I'm a completionist when they do come out. My issue with this is because of the fact that, Image rarely does more than two, let's call it two covers, right? They only do cover A and cover Bs. Some of their titles, like Spawn, of course, more recently, they've been doing like 4 or 5 covers. They
Right.
rarely do ratio incentive variants. So you never see like 1 in 10s, 25s, and 50s unless it's some ungodly book. But I blame, you know who I blame on this? I blame
Who?
Boom Studios and House of
Oh,
Slaughter. Because House of Slaughter #1, as of, and someone asked this on Instagram, and I commented on his post of he bought like, I don't know, 15 or 20 copies of House of Slaughter #1, and he said, "Is this a waste of money and paper or a good investment?" And I said, "Well, as of I saw an article as of like mid September, the print run on House of Slaughter #1 was at 500,000, which is
okay.
ridiculous. So
Yeah.
that means, and they're not, first of all, they're not selling through. There's no way. Like, I went to my shop this week. He had a ton of the foil covers still left over, and he doesn't order enough to get even to that, whatever it was, like 100 or 200. And then there was that 1 in 1,000 variant. Like, I blame Boom Studios for this, because right off the bat, like, that could have been a ton of paper saved, and now it's just going to be sitting at shops, right?
A ton of paper saved. It's not like that paper was then going to go to Image, like they stole from Image's paper.
Well,
That's
no, but like,
stupid.
it's the print run, like the printing of all this paper. Like, it's just a waste. Like, obviously, the print the printers, they're ordering it, and then it's shipping to, whoever is doing the book. So whether it's Marvel, DC, whoever.
Right.
So, they knowing that how big the print run was of House of Slaughter, obviously they needed X amount of paper for all these comics, and now they're all just printed up with this House of Slaughter #1, and they're not even going to be sold. So I don't know. I think, but the good thing is, and here's the thing for everyone out there listening: any of these new titles that are coming out right now in this October, November, #1s, hell, I
Mhm.
would just buy it for $4, because you know what? If it hits, you're not getting a second printing. So limited stock, like they said.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So, a couple thoughts. So, yeah, like you said, you're a completionist, and so you like the second, third, fourth printings and all that shit. I hate it because if I'm trying to buy a book, and look, yeah, I primarily buy books to read, right? But I do dabble in the spec game because I also like to flip books so that I can get books that I want for my personal collection. So I do play a little bit of the spec game. So God, crucify me now, I guess. But I hate the second, third, fourth printings because I don't know which one's going to hit. And it's so frustrating to me. I'm like, oh, cool. I got the second print, and there's the fucking fourth print that hits. So to me, who's a dummy when it comes to stuff like that, I prefer that there's only one book I got to get. Now, in answer to Image being like, oh, well, we're not going to do second prints. Well, here's a good fucking idea. How about not have 40 different covers for every Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn universe? Like, you're talking about Paper Crisis. You did a million different copies for Spawn. Like, and even when you were reading that article, I kept thinking, oh yeah, I'm sure that's true, except for Spawn. If Spawn wants second, third printing, they will do it. Like, Spawn is the exception to the rule for Image, I think. So, I don't know. And maybe it'll stay that way. Who knows how long it'll go. People are talking about the paper shortage in terms of comics and stuff. I've read a lot of articles as well about how that might affect like collected editions coming out this year as well. And there's kind of been some back and forth on that, like whether that's true, whether that it will affect that kind of stuff. So, time will tell. Obviously, I think after the past year, everyone tries to play a little safe because you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I don't know. Who cares? I'm not really sure who's buying second, third, fourth printing. I mean, it gets to the people who aren't getting it, initially, right? Like, it runs out of copies and you're not getting it. So you try to get a second print, fourth print, whatever. Read it online. I don't know. Don't give them any of your money. Boycott them by not giving them any of your money then. That's what I would say. Because they're costing themselves money at that point.
True. And then I know this was another article that just dropped earlier this week with about 75 Marvel Comics titles are actually going to be delayed due to what they're saying is a paper jam.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah. So many of the comics that I know that are coming out, that were supposed to come out in November, December, January, and February, have all been pushed back. Some of them are delayed only like a week. Some of them are delayed a month. Some of them are delayed at least 2 months. So, and I know there's an article, I believe it's on Marvel's website. If not, I know another another website I saw it on, they said at least 75 issues are being delayed because of quote unquote printer jam. So that also affects some collections and even posters. So I don't
Really
really know like if that's true or not. So
interesting.
yeah, so there may be a time where now November, December, instead of getting maybe 10 titles for let's just call it this week, we're supposed to get 10 titles. There's
Right.
only 5.
It
Next
was a
week
really
there's
short week. Is that
yeah,
why?
that's what I'm saying. Like
Oh, it already
I
happened.
think
You're saying?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm as I'm talking and we're reading, I'm talking about this. I'm actually looking it up. So like Aliens #8 was supposed to be this week, but it got pushed back to next week. Aliens #9 was supposed to be January 5th. Now it got pushed back to February 2nd. So that's a month, and that's just one title. So yeah, I'm seeing, a
Hmm.
couple of them are being delayed at least a week, if not, like I just said on that one, is delayed a month almost. And that's like a title that typically does come out on. That's a title that comes out on a monthly basis, unlike Spider-Man, which is every 2 weeks. That looks like those are getting pushed back a week as well. So yeah, I mean,
Wow.
I think now over the next couple months, especially from Marvel Comics, you're going to see less books that you would have pre-ordered if you would have done the pre-orders like way back in September or October for not so much final order cutoff, but if you did your previews polls. So
Yeah. Huh. What kind of a damn, just to even think about, like, try to wrap your mind around the idea that there was such a printer jam, right? So you think about like a printer at an office, right? Like the paper was got jammed in there, and you're like, oh God, what kind of a printer jam occurred that it's delaying this stuff by like a month? Like,
I
that's
it,
wild to me.
I don't know, but I guess like the one good thing is for people that typically buy like a ton of Marvel comics a week, now it spreads it out, right? So
Yeah.
instead of getting 10 titles this week, like I said, there was a couple books that were supposed to release this week that are now getting pushed back to next week. So I guess they're kind of spreading out the love of comic books. So
You know what? Speaking of taking up printing paper and whatnot, I'm looking at like Diamond previews, just cruising for next week. Now, you want to talk about another book that's going to be taking up a lot of printing paper? They got 8 covers of Venom #1 coming out, dude.
that's
Like,
right.
it's crazy.
So
And
yeah,
how many
it's
people out there
unnecessary.
listening will collect all those? Like, I don't blame you if you do it. You do it. Luckily, I don't. I'm typically a cover A kind of guy because I don't really,
Mhm.
unless I see a cover that like really speaks to me. Like, so like looking at this, I'm a big I think you pronounce his name Bachalo. I love Bachalo's work. Like, I loved it in Age of Apocalypse, X-Men stuff. It's weird, but it's always kind of appealed to me. So I
Mhm.
see that cover and it kind of makes me interested. I look at the Peach Momoko and I think
Uh,
how badly I would like to not own that book because it just looks horrendous.
yeah, the N. Huckley is really good.
Yeah, that one is pretty cool with the face coming out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then there's all those exclusive variants. So now that,
Right.
and here's the thing too. Now, so if Image Comics is saying that if they're not going to be printing any more second, third, and fourth printings, then that means that they should allow less retailers to do exclusives then.
Well, they won't because that costs them even more money, probably.
Well, no, but obviously they're getting money. Like as a retailer, you have to pay the studio, like whether it's Boom or Image or Marvel's, X amount of dollars,
Right.
and you can have whatever the print run is that you want.
No,
So
that's
if
what I'm
they're
saying. Like, that
complaining,
costs them a lot of money to
well,
to
yeah,
not
but
allow people to do that. Yeah.
yes, so they're losing money there. But if they're the ones that are being this advocate of, we're not doing any more second printings and beyond, so then boom, then you don't allow anybody to have
Right.
exclusive variants over the next 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, we'll see how it goes, man. I mean, maybe, and I'm sure it's kind of, well, obviously they print these books, ahead of time too. So we'll see how long this lasts.
Yeah.
So,
So, next article, sticking with some comic book stuff, and this actually was just released today. If you're signed up on the app and you get the newsletter or on Instagram, all over, we're talking about Shortboxed. So, Shortboxed is an app where you can typically go ahead and load your books and sell. So, it's similar to a eBay, but they only do slab books. For myself, I've been selling on there for about 2 years. Don't really have a good track record of selling CGC books on there just because I guess if it's not really like a huge book,
mhm.
you really don't get a lot of love. Unlike, eBay where it could be, it's universal, like across the entire, world that someone can see your item and buy it. With Shortbox, I believe it's only in the United States and maybe Canada, but the article over there is that they secured a $2.15 million in seed funding to build the future of comic book collecting. So this is over from Gene, the CEO and co-founder of Shortbox. He says he's super excited with the $2.15 million in seed funding. What that means is, at a high level, it means that we're investing heavily in hiring, building tons of new features, and connecting with our community on a deeper level. From our humble beginnings, our goal has always been to build the best platform for buying and selling comics, and that focus has diminished. On the contrary, we haven't even more conviction now in our ability to usher the industries forward with the anticipated platform and services that have plagued for decades. So, some of the big names that have been investing in this, the seed funding, of course, you had Adam Dapper of Boost VC. You have the additional investments from Web Investment Network. Our friend Danish, who is bad ideas man behind the scenes. I don't really know what that's all about, but they said that buying and selling comics, for all those who like to do it, is a lifelong passion that requires authenticity and trust within the community. So, again, this is huge news for Shortbox. I remember when they first started years ago, when I met them at Baltimore Comic Con before the app was even up and running. And Gene's a great guy. I met him. He was also on Lords of the Long Box. Him and TiVo and myself, we did an interview with him, so that was a lot of fun. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, the app itself, it's very tough to work if you're not looking for specific books. Like, sometimes I'll go on there and I'll just search Star Wars. It's tough to, or even let's do Batman, because sometimes I'm looking for older Batmans in my golden age, and it's like, if you type in Batman, I really can't sort it by. It's tough to sort. Like, I'm typically sorting it by like highest price, or if I'm looking for a specific issue, like I always have an issue, and that's just me. That's just me. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Have you ever used Shortbox?
So I've never purchased, and I've listed one book one time, and then I took it off pretty quick. So it's not like I gave it like a lot of opportunities. I will say this about it, because I was kind of cruising looking for a Ghost Rider slab, a specific book, and I was like, oh, let me just see what they got. Their prices are actually really good. Like, I've noticed the prices on Shortbox are pretty decent, definitely better than eBay. So, like, if I'm looking for a specific book, I usually do come here first to see, like, oh, okay, let's see what the prices are here.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is, though, obviously, it's hard to compete with eBay. eBay is always going to have more, what's the word I'm looking for? More variety, or more like quantity. You can find anything. Like, I can literally look up like Guardians of the Galaxy 12 CGC, and someone's going to have that goddamn book listed up there, probably, even if it's like a random book.
Is a lot more.
Yeah. So yeah, it's tough to kind of find the books, and I've never really, like, right now, I'm looking at it right now. I typed in Ghost Rider, and so they like threw out every Ghost Rider-esque book that slapped, so, but it doesn't really say the issues, the issue numbers. I'm looking at like the cover. Obviously, like, some of them, for sure, like Ghost Rider #1, it's 9.6 listed right here, but it doesn't say that on the book. It's just the picture of the book, which I'm not even like saying that that's an issue by any means. I mean, usually you should know what book you're looking for. So,
I mean, as far as seller fees, like, the seller fees, I think, is only 10%. So you're saving money there from eBay, because eBay is typically 12%, I believe, after everything is said and done.
Yeah.
Here, my issues, and again, this is my issues with the app sometimes, and maybe it's because I really haven't listed anything new, is when someone would best offer me, I would never get the best offer, because actually what would happen is the best offer went to my spam box, and then Shortbox had to reach out to me personally and be like, hey, you have a best offer. Are you still available? Is this active? Please respond. And I was just like, I never even got this message. So it's like, I could have gotten best offers and then just completely ignored them because they were going to my spam, which is odd, because I still get all the normal Shortbox stuff sent to my normal inbox. But for best offers, I was getting sent there. Another issue that I had prior was, when you sell something on Shortbox, when they send out the payment to you, they send out a payment to you via like a check. Like,
Oh, okay.
and I feel like that's a little strange.
It's old. Yeah.
Yeah. But what you could do is you are able to get you're able to get it through PayPal, but at like a certain percentage, like there's an additional fee.
So
You know what I
it's
mean?
kind of an inconvenience. You're
Yeah.
paying a fee. So if you wanted the convenience of eBay, you're almost paying the same fees, at the end of the day with like you're getting a discount on your fees from eBay. Well, I guess you're talking about buyer fees compared to seller
Well,
fees.
no,
Never
it's a
mind.
seller fee. So like
Oh,
you would get a check. And I've heard good stories. I've heard, terrible stories where someone sold a book and it took, almost 2 months to get a check. But according to their website, they send it out within 3 to 5 business days upon delivery confirmation. But with PayPal, they can be sent immediately minus a 2.9 PayPal transfer fee. So now you're into, the 10% to sell the book and another 2.9 for you to get the funds like immediately. Like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that because that's just like everything should just go through PayPal.
yeah.
It shouldn't be like if I sell 10 books in a week, I don't want to wait. Like I want the money just as soon as it's delivery confirmation, just keep dumping the money into my PayPal and I'll transfer it out like when I need it. I don't want to wait for a check. God forbid it gets lost.
Right.
So
Yeah. How do you get it again? Yeah, exactly.
but again, I'm sure there's people that have do great sales on, that kill it on short box. Unfortunately, I've just had a lot of, mishaps just because I guess again, maybe my books aren't worthy enough, but who knows? Maybe with this $2.15 million funding, they'll actually be able to increase it and it'll have a lot more variety, a lot more accessibility and ease on the app, and it'll take off.
Yeah, I definitely haven't used it well enough to necessarily like give a stamp of approval one way or the other on it for sure. But you know what? Like the more opportunities to purchase things, like the better, like more avenues. It's great because it really sucks. Like sometimes eBay being the only spot. Like it is nice to have like different places. My comic shop, eBay, short boxed places to kind of like look around and say, like, okay, well, this guy's a little high here and get a little bit of a discount here. Obviously, buyer options are always better. I mean, that's always what you want as a purchaser. So is options, I think. At least I do. I don't know about everyone else, but
Yeah. To be honest, with all the books that I've been getting back from CGC and CBCS, I don't even list them anymore on eBay. I just do my whatnot sales. I love just selling them quick, getting the money. It's a lot easier and a lot more fun. I love doing the whatnot sales. I don't want a book that I could sell. Like, let's just say the going price on eBay is 400. If I can get 300 and even with fees in a day from selling it on whatnot, I would, because I don't want to have it just sitting there up on eBay
right.
or maybe on Shortboxed or my comic shop. God, I almost said MySpace. I was thinking
Oh yeah, sell comics on MySpace. I do so well there.
I'm the only one up there.
You get to listen to all my music that I put on my page while you select my comics.
Oh my God, that's funny. But yeah, so that's my little rant on Shortbox. But again, to the future, good luck with that, and hopefully we'll see a turnaround and an influx of sellers and buyers to the app. So
You know what? On that note, like if any of you guys do use Shortbox and you've had like good success or bad success or something, drop us a line. Like both Justin and I are not super, like you can hear us say, not super familiar with it, haven't used it a lot. So I'd love to hear some stories, whether you've had good success or bad. Send it our way, either Instagram or the Comic-Con podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, maybe I'll post like 2 or 3 books up there and see what I can get. See if I get any hits or best offers, and if I sell it before that. See, that's really like the test is
right.
Put it on eBay and also put it on the app. Even though I think they even tell you do not have this listed on other sites. I think that's like one of the rules and regulations, if I'm not mistaken. But
why would you? Yeah, that's not.
But I can understand them because they don't want to have the book listed on there and then also on eBay. And then let's say you sell it on eBay,
right?
And then it's still listed on, and then you forget that it's there on the app, and then you have to. And then let's just say someone buys it on the app, and then you'd be like, oh, I don't have this in stock anymore. Then it makes you look bad, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you got to be, if you're going to do that, you got to be the person who, when it sells on one or the other one, you immediately remove it from the other one before you do anything else. You got to be that kind of person.
Mm-hmm. I'm like that on Whatnot. Like I have a ton of books that are listed on eBay. I'll throw them in my Whatnot auction. If they sell, then perfect. I
exactly
listing on eBay.
That's what I do too. I'll keep like a little list, and when I'm done with the sale, I'll immediately go to eBay and delete the listings. Mm-hmm. So cool. Yeah, check it out. Check out Shortboxed app, everyone.
Yeah, please. If anyone has any, like Zach said, if anybody has had great success or horror stories, feel free to drop us a direct message or an email. We would love to hear about it, especially a voicemail. You know, that'd be great to listen to. You know, your stories on this. So let's get away from the comic book stuff. Let's get into some TV and movie news. So first, let's talk about this one. And I really want to bash this one, being a big Star Wars fan, because whether it's true or not, over at Screen Rant and a ton of other websites, Darth Maul's Star Wars animated show is in development. Rumors of an animated Star Wars show focusing on Darth Maul during the former Sith's criminal years with Crimson Dawn have begun to surface online. So, of course, the Book of Boba Fett trailer just dropped this week, which we will discuss. But there's a lot of people that are talking about a animated series for Darth Maul. There's some news surrounding that somewhere that Sam Witwer is recording for something. Of course, some of the other voice actors that did a lot of the voice acting in Star Wars, The Clone Wars, is doing something, but it's all been secrecy. So with that being said, here's my take. Darth Maul came, he died, he was gone for many, many years, or so we thought. Came back, he was amazing in The Clone Wars, amazing in Star Wars Rebels, and his little cameo in Solo. I think his story is complete. I think for them to go back and do this as a animated series is a disservice to the character, in my opinion. Now, you already have Bad Batch season 2 coming out, and maybe that could go 2 or 3 or 4 seasons. I'm sure that this really is where this rumor is coming from, because obviously where the Bad Batch is, you could easily just bring in Maul at any point and have Crimson Dawn. There should be no any type of rumor that they're going to be doing a Darth Maul animated show. I love the character, but I think this is complete farce. It's just, to me, it's just garbage. What do you think, Zach?
You know, I guess I don't really have like necessarily an opinion on if I think it's true or not. Would I like to see it? Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I would prefer not the animated. Like at the end of Solo, when we saw him in Crimson Dawn, I was really excited. Like, you know, of course, we all know there's not going to be like another Solo movie, which kind of is a bummer. I would like another live action version of Maul. And there definitely is, in terms of, and I get what you mean. Like they completed the story arc of Darth Maul. Don't get me wrong. But there is a section on there that, you know, hasn't been explored. And that is his time as Crimson Dawn and the underworld aspect, you know, like where we saw him leave off in Clone Wars. And then when we see him in Rebels, he's like older and kind of like alone now. He's not doing the Crimson Dawn shit anymore. So there is stuff to explore there. But like I said, I think I'd rather see it in a live action. I mean, Darth Maul is arguably the coolest looking Star Wars character in the universe. You know, for a long time, it was Boba Fett. Everyone like glommed to Boba based on almost nothing appearance in Empire Strikes Back just because he looked cool. And that's kind of what happened with Maul too. You had Maul show up, you know, he was the coolest Sith we had really ever seen, and barely any lines. I think he had like 2 or 4 speaking lines maybe in that whole movie. And then he dies. And so it's like, oh, damn. And then, yeah, they brought him back because popularity and whatnot. So I'd be okay with it. I'm not against it at all. I don't think you're wrong by any means. I don't think he necessarily needs his own solo series. I think for sure you could have him interacting with the Clone Wars guys, the Bad Batch. God, mind blank there with the Bad Batch. But I would prefer to see, like, dude, come back with a Crimson Dawn movie. Make like just a Crimson Dawn movie with Kira. Bring back God, I'm having mind blanks all around. The Game of Thrones girl.
Bracket?
No. Emilia Clarke. God damn, man. I can't even think today. Emilia Clarke, and have Darth Maul and do that, which would be cool because if you're reading bounty hunters, it's the only cool thing that's happening in War of the Bounty Hunters is the return of Kira. So I don't know. I would like it. I'm always for more stuff. So, and such a cool character like that, it's fan base. But
they even said that, like, Paul Bettany, who played Dryden Voss in the Solo movie,
right.
he even said that he would love to do something with that character, which means that, yes, if they did do this animated series, that's again another where could it be they're pulling this rumor from is because he is alive in the Crimson Dawn era up until Solo. You see him for literally 5 seconds in the last season of Clone Wars, when Darth Maul is talking to all the people from Crimson Dawn right before the Siege of Mandalore. So again, maybe he just shows up in the Bad Batch at some point. But I just feel like, and this is me being a Star Wars fan, and I'm sure there's other Star Wars fans out there that like this, like they really need to get out of this Age of the Empire era. Like, do something either well before Phantom Menace or just continue what they're doing, like The Mandalorian, where you're leading up to the new Age of the Resistance, because there's a ton of years after Return of the Jedi up until The Force Awakens that people want to know about what's happening. Like, stop going back to where I guess it's comfortable. Us older, some of the older people who like Star Wars, they know that era. It just needs to be done with. I feel like they just won't put that to bed.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I'd rather see focused on like Old Republic or I guess even High Republic, even though I'm not a big fan of what's going on High Republic wise, but we can move on. We can move on. You're right. Let's see more. Let's see cooler stuff, more stuff. You want to do Sith, go Old Republic. Let's see some awesome Sith, I agree. Let's explore some different like areas of Star Wars.
True.
So,
all right. So that's our TV stuff. Let's get into 2 of our movie trailers that dropped this week. We'll stick with Star Wars real quick. The Book of Boba Fett, and then we're going to drop into Morbius. So the Book of Boba Fett is premiering at the end of this year on December 29th. It's going to be 8 or 9 episodes I believe it's Fridays. Of course, Friday mornings, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check the calendar real quick. December 29th, unfortunately. No, it's actually Wednesday. So I think it's every Wednesday morning that'll be dropping new episodes right as soon as the Hawkeye series is ending. So with that being said, trailer looked amazing. I think the fact that we are getting an underworld, which was something that we briefly saw in Solo, we got to see a different side. So no Jedi, no Empire, no Sith, no stormtroopers. We are seeing this new another side of what's going on in the galaxy far, far away during The Mandalorian. So I think Boba Fett's going to be great in these 8 episodes. You have Fennec Shand in there. You do see some Transdoshians. So, hopefully we'll see Bosk. I think that's been a rumor that he would be showing up as one of the bounty hunters in this series. There's also rumors that we're going to be seeing earlier stuff. So I would say the original 4 or 5 episodes, 4, 5, and 6. That's a possibility. Don't really know. But I'm telling you, when they first come out at some point in the comics, when we first see Fennec Shand, her first appearance is going to blow up. It's going to be some random issue, and that book is going to blow up because she has such a cult following now between being in The Mandalorian. We've seen her a few times in Star Wars: The Bad Batch, and of course now the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, I had a couple thoughts about it. So it's like, first off, let me ask you, what was your opinion of how much of the trailer he had his helmet off? I thought that was kind of strange. I didn't know. Like, I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know if I think it's a problem or if I have an issue with it, but we never see Boba Fett's face anytime ever before The Mandalorian, right? And I guess I get it. You kind of got to separate him from The Mandalorian, so you got to occasionally have him with his helmet off. But it almost seemed a little weird at times with the fact that like how often they showed him with his helmet off. Like almost I get it. Like there's a scene where he's sitting at a table with like all the underworld people, right? And he's got his helmet off. That makes sense to me. There's other ones where he's fighting and he's fighting with his helmet off. That does not make sense to me at all. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of strange. I thought it was cool when you were talking about like what we're going to see. Like I actually found an article that mentions like a bunch of the different alien races. So it looks like they're going to explore a lot of the different alien races like in the show, you know. So you got that, we saw like the Ithorians in there.
Yep.
We saw, like you said, the Trandoshans, the Gamorreans, the Aqualish, who are those weird dudes with like, looks like monkeys with nut sacks on their mouth. This dude's always
easiest way to describe it. People know exactly
100%, you can picture it in your mouth, right? Or in your mouth. You can picture it in your mouth. You can picture it in your mind. Yikes.
Yes.
Tusken Raiders, the Twi'leks, the
they look
Clatuians, which I don't really remember them at all. Maybe they just haven't had a big like character. The Twi'leks looked cool. I like how they're doing different colors. You know, where typically you always get like the blue greenish character. And they had like I'm looking at a picture of like a yellow one, and then one that even kind of looks like, you know, like a normal human like skin tone. So yeah, I thought it was cool, man. I'm excited for it. And you know, you're talking about Fennec Shand. I think the other big appeal of her is obviously the star power. Like Ming-Na Wen is awesome. I mean, she's just such a great actress, you know, from Chun-Li to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Mulan. I mean, she's great. And she's such a physical type character or like actress as well, who I don't know if she's still doing it at age, like, I think I'm looking at a site right now, age 57. I don't know if she's still doing her own stunts, but she used to. I mean, she's a badass. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of appeal. We were kind of specking that you'd see her first appearance in the War of the Bounty Hunters, and that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
You know, but I think you're right about that book just hitting like crazy when it comes out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. With her showing up at some point. I totally forgot she was Chun-Li. Jesus, that brings me back. You definitely brought some old school right there.
You know, what's great about it too is it operates in like a realm of Star Wars. Obviously, Mandalorian's it's tricky to have too much of like a large story, because you know you have the final trilogy coming up. You know what's going on with like our Skywalker guys. But they didn't really, like, even in the new trilogy, you almost got no underworld that I can remember in the new trilogy at all. So it is like a great little pocket universe, so to speak, within Star Wars to tell stories that we don't know anything about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it won't ruin any kind of like set continuity or anything.
Yeah. That's the only reason. This goes back to what we were speaking about earlier with the Darth Maul thing in Crimson Dawn. Like, that's something that we got to see a little bit in Solo. So that's why, like, I think Solo is such a great movie, because you see that. I think the only times you ever see anything outside of like the rebellion, the rebels, the Empire, or the Resistance in the sequel trilogy is when Han and Chewie go to what's her name? Kaz. I can't think of her.
Oh, in Solo?
Yeah. No. In episode Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, where they find the other lightsaber.
Yeah.
Luke's lightsaber, yeah. I can't remember her name either.
Yeah, I think her name's like Maz Kaz something.
Yeah. Maz Kanata.
Yeah, there you go. So that's really where the only time we've ever seen that in, episode 7, 8, and 9. So yes, to do this is going to be awesome to see, because again, it's not led by any Republic or rebels, the stormtroopers, anything like that.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. I think it's going to be great. Okay, so moving on into some MCU. I guess it's MCU, the Sony Spamunk universe, or whatever you want to call it. Spamunk. I don't know, dude. Whatever. We're moving into the Morbius trailer. So obviously Morbius got announced like quite a while ago, and we got like the teaser trailer, I guess is what you call the first one, but we got like a full first trailer that just got released recently. So a lot of stuff in there, obviously coming off of one of the worst comic book movies of all time, Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. We are seeing more of the connection between the Venom universe and the MCU, which shouldn't be any surprise after the post-credit scene in Venom, Let There Be Carnage. But it was still a really cool trailer in terms of all the kind of like Easter eggs and references with both Spamunk in the MCU. So what'd you think about... Well, let me ask you this, because you're more of a Spider-Man guy than I am.
Wait, what'd you say?
You're more of a Spider-Man guy than I am. Like you like
Say that
Spider-Man
one more time. Oh, okay. All right.
You like Spider-Man more than I do. I'm not really a big Spider-Man fan.
I didn't realize there was another person here on the podcast that liked Spider-Man. But
see, I guess I thought you loved Spider-Man.
You know, come on, we've been doing this for.
You like Spider-Gwen and shit, so that all the
Spider-Gwen, not so much Spider-Man in the family, but
fair enough. Yeah. Okay, so what's your opinion on Morbius as a character, just in general?
Morbius, to me, like I grew up obviously knowing him from like the late 80s, 90s, like the Midnight Suns era with the Blade and then with the animated series of Spider-Man. That's really the only thing I know of Morbius. Like I always thought he was a cool character. I definitely think he was like my first real like horror character in Marvel. So I definitely could see him. And I know like in, watching the Blade movies and stuff like that, isn't there like a secret scene where he pops in? I think at the end of the second movie.
Really? I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I think there was like a deleted scene where he comes in at the end of like Blade number 2.
Look it
I'm
up.
gonna type that in. But as far as like the character, let's go to the trailer. So we're going to talk about the trailer. The trailer itself, I think this trailer opens it up a lot more. It doesn't focus as much as it did on the first one with him being his condition and figuring out what he's going to do. What his abilities were in the first trailer, but this trailer, they went full force on like what he's going to look like, describing what he sees and feels and acts, and got real more into horror. And then of course every Sony/Marvel movie, how they do the trailer is awesome until the last 10 seconds where it has to throw in some comedy, and I just throw my hands up in the air and I say, God damn it, like why? Like really, why? So
yeah, I loved all the scenes, how we got to see more of like you said, what he looks like when he's in like the living vampire mode, so to speak. He looked really cool. I loved all those scenes. Actually, they looked really, really awesome. And I like the dark tone of it. But I'm worried because in the previews for both Venom 1 and Venom 2, there was a dark tone. Maybe not Venom 2. In Venom 1, there was a dark tone where you're like, oh, cool, this is a dark character. It's going to go dark. And it wasn't like that. So to say I have any faith in Sony is, I don't. I really have like no faith in Sony pulling this off. The only thing that makes me hopeful and think that there's a possibility is, the introduction of like characters like Adrian Toomes and the direct correlation that it's going to have with like the MCU. Which, side note, I just watched that alternate ending. It was in Blade number 1. And so if you remember how Blade 1 ends, he's out on like the rooftop talking to the doctor who like created a serum or whatever. And he's like, I'm going to need more of that serum. It's like how the movie ends. And then he goes to like Russia and kills the vampire. Right.
Yeah.
So in the scene, they're in like, it looks like it's dusk and they're standing outside a building, and you look up and on a building is what looks like a vampire, or like a vampire-esque character. You can't tell it's Morbius unless someone were to tell you, probably. But I guess since it's out in the sunlight, maybe you would know.
Yeah, you would assume, because he's the only other person that could come out during the day. So, see, I wasn't making up stuff.
I never heard of that before. Check it out. I'm gonna send it. I'll send it to you.
So yeah, just Google Morbius. Just Google Blade Morbius ending scene or
alternate ending
scene. I'm sure. Yeah, there you go. So, hey, I knew I heard it somewhere, and I just couldn't remember. I probably haven't checked it out in a really long time, but that's why that made me think about it. And then of course in the trailer, there's a lot of little Easter eggs, like you said. Like we see the Oscorp building. We see there's the thing that we saw in the first trailer with Spider-Man being a murderer, which kind of solidified that he was part of that universe. Then we have, of course, the ending where he says, I'm Venom, which is the joke.
Yeah.
And then it's, no, I'm Michael Morbius. So, of course, yes, it's also part of the Venom universe, but we all know at the end of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, he's now part of the MC universe. But the biggest two things, in my opinion, and these could just be Easter eggs, it doesn't mean anything, is when he's reading the newspaper and you see it talks about the Rhino and it talks about Black Cat.
Right.
Believe me, I want so bad a Felicia Hardy solo movie or anything. Black Cat, please jump in, and I think she'll probably show up in maybe, let's say, Spider-Man's college years, because I think that's where they're heading. Is this trilogy of Spider-Man movies is his high school years, and then the next he's going to be in college. So I think that's where they're going to introduce Felicia Hardy, but it could just be Easter eggs. So just let it be where she's not even Black Cat yet. It was just there for throne purposes as being fan service, which I don't know. But
yeah, there was what was the other one? Horizon Labs. That was another.
Yeah, what's that? I'm not familiar with.
It's just a place that both Spider-Man and Morbius, I think, like kind of worked at or something.
Okay.
I think the guy who ran it was like a big idol of Peter Parker's or something. I don't know for sure, but I recognized the name of Horizon Labs when it showed up.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they also referenced Venom as well when they said, like, the cops are like, hey, he say something like, it's not like that San Francisco, or we got another San Francisco or something like that, right? So yeah, I mean, that stuff's cool. And the Michael Keaton, it's Adrian Toomes. I really hope there's more to it than just like, hey, Dr. Morbius. It's like, I feel like he had like this like New Yorker accent, which is probably super offensive to you and to everyone who does.
No.
So he was just like, hey,
he did grow up.
Dr. Morbius. You have to get with me sometime. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm watching like an episode of The Sopranos. Like, what was that shit?
Well, like the Wrecking, because they were kind of like the Wrecking Crew,
right,
or whatever they were in Spider-Man. What is it? Not No Way Home, Homecoming. Like, yeah, well, because they were cleaning up the Battle of New York,
right?
So, like, yeah, he is a New Yorker, so yeah, I mean, he can. That's his thing or whatever. He's like, oh, let's keep in touch.
Yeah, so that's stupid.
But so here's the thing, like in that scene, like where is that in context? Like at that point, does he have the ability to be completely human and then also be like a complete vampire?
That's what it looks like. It looks like it's one of those situations where, as he loses his temper, or like, so to speak, he kind of Morbius is out, to take a Hulk reference.
Or bloodlust. It's like that's when he really looks like Morbius,
right?
Because
and
in
it
the
also
comics, he was always like, and you can correct me. I mean, you've definitely read a lot more,
not Morbius stuff.
But I remember Morbius, he was always like, he always looked like the vampire. Like there's never a time where he was both, or it's always like if he was in the panel, you knew it was him.
Right. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Morbius. I do know Jared Leto is too good looking to be put in that monster makeup a whole movie. The appeal of getting like women who are Jared Leto fans is not going to be lost on the Spelunk universe. So, I mean,
January's close, man. I'm super excited. It's right
I am
around the
too.
corner.
I think the thing I'm most excited about is not so much the connectivity between the two universes. I think I'm just excited for, I keep saying this because we keep getting movies that look like they're going to be this way and then don't end up. I want a dark movie. Like I want Marvel or Sony or someone to go to that supernatural realm. You know what I mean? Like we haven't really touched that yet. Like these characters like Morbius, like you said, Midnight Suns, that kind of stuff. Like the Ghost Riders, the Blades, even Moon Knight, like I want to see that. We've seen the costume heroes and saving the world and all that. Like that's great, whatever. Like I love that too. But we have in the cosmic stuff, we've seen that too. But this is like what we haven't seen yet. And that's what I want to see. I want to see a dark, more supernatural type movie. So hopefully they do it, man. And like we said, neither one of us have been Venom fans by any means in the movies. But I want these movies to succeed. I want them to do well. I don't think some of the ideas Sony has are good ideas. Like
I don't think Jared Leto would have picked this project.
Madam Spider. What's the other one they're planning on doing?
Madam Web.
Madam Web. I think it's a horrible idea.
Well, isn't there that rumor too, real quick, since we were talking about like the horror stuff, isn't there that rumor that Ethan Hawke is Dracula in Moon Knight?
So that is going around that he might be playing like a Dracula in Moon Knight, and also along with that, there's rumors that Blade will make his first appearance in Moon Knight, the Disney Plus show. So I mean, I'm not against that, like
Mhm.
Dracula's such a loaded character though. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to bring Dracula into comics, in my opinion, because we're totally dovetailing here, but we got, some extra time. And it's hard because it's such a character like steeped in all kinds of lore, different
Mhm.
Dracula before comics. Dracula has, so much prominence,
Oh, of
like,
course.
and so it's almost like you bring him into comics and he's a little different. It's weird. Like, dude, do you remember Blade Trinity? Like the
Mhm.
Dracula in that was horrible. It was
Oh, you had
awful.
Dominic, what's his name? Who's
Yeah.
now he's a
Fire,
fire.
whatever his name.
Yeah. Jesus, I'm a DC guy.
The Flash villain.
Yeah. Damn, I can't
Yeah.
think of his name.
Better known
Yeah.
in Jailbreak or Prison Break.
Yes,
That was
Prison
his
Break
Prison
with
Break is great.
that, and that's the same thing as well
Yeah.
because you had both of those guys were
Yeah. Captain Cold and
Captain
Heat
Cold
Wave.
and
Heat
Heatwave.
Wave.
Yes, so they stayed together. So I thought that was always funny.
Yeah, so like it's tough in my opinion, and especially to say like that if that's your primary villain for Moon Knight, a character no one knows, and you're bringing in Dracula, I feel like that overshadows the storyline. You know what I mean? Like people don't know who Moon Knight is. Every single person in the fucking universe knows who Dracula is.
Yep.
So it sets a tone in a way, and it kind of overshadows your hero. But I don't know, man.
I don't think they should really bring in characters that are like and this is going back like universal monsters. Like we all knew, like they were supposed to build that whole franchise too, like the Universal side with they did that Mummy movie with Tom Cruise, and that was supposed to kind of start the whole Dracula, Frankenstein, the Living Mummy, but it didn't. It bombed, so they didn't do that. It didn't continue that franchise as a whole.
Yeah. Well, you have characters like characters like Dracula, they're public domain. And like Sherlock Holmes, I think, is one of them as well. King Arthur, stuff like that. Like no one owns these characters. Like you can do things with like Robin Hood and Frankenstein and Dracula. Universal does in terms of the term universal monsters, but they don't own the properties for Dracula. And actually, maybe I could be wrong about Sherlock Holmes.
They don't belong in like comic book movies.
I agree. I don't think we need to bring those kind of characters in. Moon Knight has his own villains, man. Like let's go off them. And if you were to bring him in, it's Blade that you would bring Dracula into for sure.
And
but
who
knows, man?
With the whole thing with Morbius, I mean, you could do like you said. There's such a route that you could go with after this movie. Right. I mean, there's definitely things that he's had like mini series. He's been in team groups. There's definitely a lot of people that could be brought in for either a second movie or bring into a, I don't know, a team movie, like I said. So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited. I think this movie is. I don't know why it's been plagued with such a delay. Like,
was it COVID? I think it was COVID too. I think COVID was part of it. I don't remember either, but I believe COVID was part of the setbacks for that too.
I mean, because we got the first trailer
it was almost like a year ago. It feels like.
Oh, it was definitely it was supposed to come out, I think, like last October because, from what I'm looking at, the first trailer came out on Sony Pictures back on January of 2020. So that was well before COVID. So I would think by that point the movie was probably almost done.
Yeah.
And then it said it was supposed to release in October because it was supposed to come out the same time around Venom. And then it just never did. And now it was 2 years later. Like now actually the first trailer dropped on January 13th. The movie is dropping on January 28th of next year. So 2 years plus since we got the first trailer. That's insane. I don't think I've ever seen a movie like that. And whatever, COVID is COVID, but like
I think it probably also has to do with like the fear of movies coming out in theaters, like how they'll do and release. Obviously, they trusted Venom would do a little bit better probably than Morbius in like a theatrical testing run. So maybe that's why they pushed it. But then you got to wonder, was this the plan always? Because obviously it feels like watching this trailer, it's definitely taking place after Venom 2, right? It definitely feels that way.
Oh yeah.
So did they know ahead of time or did they change things? Maybe that's reshooting because of that. Who knows?
So I guess we'll have to wait and see, with it close. Because then Spider-Man will be out, right?
Yeah.
Spider-Man's at the end of this year,
Right.
so we'll get Spider-Man, and then we'll get Morbius. So I don't know, maybe Morbius shows up as a cameo in Spider-Man at the end,
or more info on like the blending of the multiverse.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. So, two awesome trailers that just dropped this week. So great reactions to them. I love discussing that. Let's get on to our final and always topic every week. What are we currently reading in the world of comic books? Because this is a comic book podcast. So, for myself this week, again, there's not much that came out this week, I guess, because of the paper issue, like we talked about earlier. But there were some decent titles out there this week from the DC side. What am I currently reading? My pick of the week is the DC's Knights of Steel, a really cool right now little mini series. It has nothing to do with DC continuity. It is an event, little pre-store
12 issues.
Go there you go, 12 issues. Of course, so the scenario starts off with Kal-El, of course, normally Metropolis, landing in Metropolis, but here we have them landing in King Arthur type lore, so that's right up Zach and Mai's alley. And instead of it just being Kal-El, you have his parents, and he's not even born yet, and he's actually born basically as soon as they land. And then it kind of skips forward a bunch of years, and now this castle is being not taken, I would say, but ruled by the Kal-Els, and they're good people, so it's still, very similar, the Boy Scout type of thing. But then, of course, you have Bruce Wayne, and my favorite part is because he is a knight, and he runs his little team of ninjas or thieves or whatever. Of course, it's the Robins, and it's all like Dick Grayson and Stephanie Brown, Jason Todd. So that's cool. And you get a lot of cool characters in this Arthurian lore. So, and this doesn't really give anything away. You have Jefferson, who's Black Lightning. You have Constantine.
Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah, Harley Quinn, of course, the Jester, and she plays the Jester role. And then they talk about the Green Man, and we won't spoil who that is, but that was my pick of the week. I thought it was a really good first starting off. Of course, Tom Taylor, I'm not a big writer for him, or reader as he's written some stuff, but Yasmin Putri killed it on the art. So I'm really excited to see her, because she's really only done covers. She's never really done interiors. So this was her first kind of crack. And correct me if I'm wrong out there if I'm on that. What about you? What did you read this week?
I mean, I loved that. That was I love the sword and sorcery aspect of Dark Knights of Steel. It's a fun little microcosm universe of if these characters were in medieval times. You know what I mean? It was great. Definitely check it out. I suggest it to everyone. It was really, really good. The other book I really liked, and it maybe shouldn't be too much of a surprise, and I think a lot of people read this, there's been a lot of hype about it, was House of Slaughter #1. So I was late to the bandwagon, and I'll own that, and I'll be honest about it, when it came to Something is Killing the Children. And if you've ever read it, then you know that it's awesome. And I just breezed through all the issues. So I'm all caught up, obviously. Been a while on Something is Killing the Children. So then when they announced, House of Slaughter, it was cool to kind of be to go back in time, because it's definitely, I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't read Something is Killing a Children, but it definitely happens before Something is Killing a Children, and focuses on a different character of Aaron from the House of Slaughter, from the Black Masks, which I really loved. I loved because if you read the previous issue of Something is Killing the Children, I believe issue 20, they really tell you all the different colors of the masks. And so they're kind of breaking that wide open as to the purposes of the different masks and stuff. So you kind of get the antagonism between the black and the white masks in House of Slaughter. And it's cool. To also the current arc in Something is Killing the Children is definitely a flashback of when Erica, becomes a member of the House of Slaughter. And this almost is taking place right at that exact time. And so it's fun. I thought I really, really enjoyed it. I'm excited to see how long it goes. I don't know if they've been, tell me if you know this. It's got to be a limited series. It obviously can't necessarily be ongoing.
It probably will be 12, and I'm sure it's not going to be more than that, unless because of course there's going to be. I don't think there's going to be a huge run off like where this character is going to go. But I mean, they did say that it is an ongoing original series, but
Right.
I don't know if it's how far it's going to go, like how Tinian can write Something is Killing Children and this. But from what we know is that Something is Killing Children is stopping right now at issue 20. There's no solicitations for anything past that. So I don't know, House of Slaughter could be like the next year project for him. And then he'll go back to, both at the same time. Who knows? But I read it too. I thought it was a good read. I thoroughly enjoyed the beginning hunt scene, which again, I'm not going to spoil. People have showed you 500,000 people that went out and bought this print run. I read it by now, and if you haven't, it's a good read. I think Something is Killing the Children has a lot to grow on, and my favorite part, and this was always my favorite thing with Erica, was the little stuffed animals being, that's like a demon, and I think once they option this, whether it's a TV series or movie, like I think that's going to be like the next Grogu.
Right.
Like I think
evil Grogu.
Yeah, evil Grogu. But I think like that's going to be such like a cool little collector's item to have, is these like little puppets that are the demons live inside.
Yeah, agreed.
So anything else? I think that's all we have for the
That's
evening.
it. Yeah.
Nice. So real quick, so I was telling Zach about this week, and we talked about this probably, I don't know, about a month or so ago on the podcast when we did our Sony video games review. But the Guardians of the Galaxy just came out on PS4, PS5, and the other systems, or maybe I think it's just PS4 and PS5. But so I actually got it, and I will say it's a very fun game to play. I thought it was going to be not as good because you were only playing as Star-Lord, but using the Guardians to do different things, it's like a very interesting platformer because you have to use their abilities to get to certain points. The back and forth banter has actually been hilarious, and it's actually been a lot better than the movies, in my opinion. And obviously, that's due to great writing, and I guess you hear more of it because you're going to spend a lot more time. What's really fun about the game is when you don't follow the formula of like going from point A to point B. If you start doing these like little side things where obviously you want to collect these trinkets and these collectibles to increase your whatever it is to upgrade your things. Sometimes you'll hear them say, "Oh, where's Quill going?" Or what are you doing, like going off on this side rant? And like whoever it is, whether it's Rocket or Drax, they always have some like quirky things to say. And I actually think it's actually very interesting to hear this in the video game. And in the beginnings, I wasn't enthralled with the voice acting, but it's actually grown on me. A lot of Easter eggs are in there, like Zach knows right off the bat. Where we talked about this. There's a poster of Dazzler, in Star-Lord's little room. But I've met the Nova Corps. So I'm still waiting to see some other stuff that's going on in the Marvel universe in this video game, and I think they did so far a great job, and I'm thoroughly enjoying playing this game. So that's all I have for episode 43. What about you?
No, it's good. Yeah, I haven't played the game. I'm looking forward to it. I do plan on checking it out here sometime soon. But no, I think good episode, good topics this week, and yeah, it was a little light on the books, but we found a couple great books to talk about. So
yeah, definitely. All right, everybody, that's it. 43 is in the books. We'll catch you next week. Peace out.
Later.